Now, Google has released its Year in Search for 2022, which is a look at the most popular search trends around the world. Some, will give us an insight as to what we're all interested in at the moment, from complex global issues to salacious celebrity gossip. There are lots of interesting takeaways, but what may really surprise you is the word of the year, the word that's been searched the most, more than any other word. I'm not going to say what it is because Tom Brodder is right here in the studio with me now, and that is his job. So Tom, reveal all.
Thank you, Sally. So the most searched for word around the world in 2022 is Wordle. That's right, Wordle, the vocabulary game which exploded in popularity largely in 2021 during the pandemic, when people were looking for something fun to distract them. That's when it really took off, and it is the word of the year, the most searched for term on the entirety of Google over the past year. For people who don't know, and clearly there are not a lot of people who don't know since so many people have been searching for it, but Wordle is the game where basically you have 6 goes at whittling down what the word of the day is. And ultimately, everybody's looking for the exact same word on the same day, so it basically pits you against millions and millions of other people and clearly tickles people's competitive streak, which is why, even though we're pretty much through the pandemic, people clearly still love it.
Okay, so that's number one, which may be surprising. I mean, I was very surprised to hear that, but what about the other top words?
Right, well, I was a little surprised too. It's a very light-hearted word to be top of the list, but there are some more weightier subjects, shall we say, and I think you can
and
see
more
the list
obvious
behind
as
me.
well, I guess.
You're exactly right. I'll come to some of the sporting ones a little later. First of all, I want to point out that there is a global event at number 3. You've got Ukraine, and that's clearly people searching to find out information about the war in Ukraine ever since Russia invaded back in February. People clearly still interested in finding out the latest details as that war is ongoing. And just below Ukraine, you can see Queen Elizabeth is also on the list. No surprise there. Her Majesty passed away in September, and clearly since then there has been a massive spike in people finding out about what happened to her and wanting to find out probably more about her life. And then you probably also spotted at number 2 and number 5 we have India popping up. I have on good authority Ind versus SA is India versus South Africa. I myself am not an enormous cricket fan. I don't want anyone to come at me for that fact.
Nor am I.
Just being honest, but there are more than 1 billion people in India. I think there's almost 1.4 billion people. It's catching up rapidly with China, and they do have a serious interest in cricket, and that's why number 2 and number 5, those matchups have made it to almost the very top of Google's most searched list.
Okay, so the Queen gets into that top list, but when it comes to other celebrities, well-known people, who's there?
So Google does a curation of the most searched for people specifically, and at the top of that list you have, and you can see, Johnny Depp, the actor. And, he's a very famous actor in his own right, but I don't believe it's to do with his acting that he's so high up on this list. Because if you look at number 3, I'm sure you recognise her as well, we have Amber Heard. And Johnny Depp was obviously in a relationship with Amber Heard. That relationship, should we say, went south. And over the summer, there was a defamation trial between the two. And so clearly people are very interested in the celebrity and very, very interested in a public fallout. And so that's why both of those names are on that list.
Talking of a public fallout, we've got Will Smith and Chris Rock there among the top 5.
Exactly. You probably couldn't have a more infamous example of that. So you had Will Smith, who was nominated for the Best Actor for playing King Richard this year.
And he got that Oscar.
And he got that Oscar, but nobody really cares about that or remembers that, at least, because what that night will be remembered for is the fact that he got on the stage in a rage, strode up to Chris Rock, who was speaking at the time, and smacked him right across the face. And it was seen by millions of people across the world live watching the Academy Awards.
Including us here at the BBC. We were reporting on it at the time.
We didn't know if
shocked.
it was a skit, if it was part of the event, and then it turned out, obviously, it was just a fit of rage from Will Smith.
Just very briefly, we've got 30 seconds, Tom, some of the fun stuff.
So the list also threw out some quirkier things. People, for example, use Google Lens. It's something you can use to take a photo of something, and it showed that the most searched for plant was the philodendron. I'm glad I remembered that. That's the one on the left. And on the other side, you have the walkie-talkie building in London, the most scenic hotspot.